I'm confident that most of you know the story of Peter Pan, but if you want to know where he came from and how he came to be what he is, here's your answer.
The Good.
This movie has some pretty good performances, especially with the energetic portrayals of Blackbeard by Hugh Jackman and James Hook by Garrett Hedlund. As far as I'm concerned, those two steal the show. Some might debate whether this is a story that needs to be told. Do we need to know everything about Peter Pan and where he came from and how he came to be where he is? But if you're like me and you like knowing the origins and other such backstory to certain things like this, then I think this will be a good movie for you to watch. Beyond the story of Peter himself, the story in this movie also gives some dimension to certain elements of the Neverland world that have been begging for an explanation, that have remained a mystery for a really long time apart from the fact that they simply exist. Unless, of course, some of these elements have existed for years and I just haven't opened the right Peter Pan book to find out what that is.
The Iffy.
I know Peter Pan is a classic fairy tale, but that doesn't change the fact that many parts of this movie, the foundation of the story, the way it progresses, the things that happen, are incredibly cliche. The trailers make it clear that Peter is like a chosen one because of some sort of prophecy, and as such, part of the plot involves him being destiny-bound to do what he has to do. And personally, I just don't find that interesting as a Peter Pan who might happen on Neverland in a different way than he did in this movie, and then choosing to take the path that he does. Or better yet, to make these choices in a story that doesn't have the prophecy at all, but is fueled entirely by other motivations. Being a movie about pirates, obviously there's a little bit of swashbuckling going on, sword fights and the like, and for the most part these action scenes are pretty good. But it does become weary seeing our characters fall into the same positions as they were, scuffle after scuffle after scuffle.
The Bad.
There are some musical choices made in this movie that are a bit jarring once you realize what you're hearing. And you'll understand precisely what this means if you watch the movie. Being a Peter Pan origin story, naturally we're going to get a little bit of foreshadowing on the events and elements of the story that everybody is already familiar with. It's the manner in which they facilitate these foreshadowings that just feels kind of off sometimes. Off enough to the point that when it happens, it kind of takes you out of the moment in the movie itself. This last one might come off as a nitpick because, let's be frank, it happens in a lot of movies, but character motivation in this movie is not necessarily inconsistent, I wouldn't say that, but it's just one of those points in a movie where you think, this character could have made a much more logical decision than what they did. And I think a few of those are probably due to the family-friendly nature of this story and the family-friendly nature they wanted to give this movie. That prevented these choices from being made, also because it was a necessity to the story.
The Verdict?
Ultimately, I did enjoy this movie, but there still are elements of it that confuse me. My desire is that they will hopefully tell the story that I actually wanted to know in a potential sequel for this one. This is Detective.